Beyond a certain point, you've got to stop thinking about LSAT question stem type. I know everybody loves to drill LSAT questions by type, but they're not going to give you questions by type on the actual official LSAT itself. They're going to give them to you in the grab bag, the 25, 26 question section, in a variety where they're not telling you what type you're dealing with. And at a certain point, when you're scoring high enough already, when you're scoring 160, 165, 170, at that point, you're not getting questions wrong because you don't understand the question stem type. You're getting them wrong simply because you don't know the method of reasoning in the stimulus. You've got to slow down at a certain point and make sure that you actually understand the argument in front of you, that you actually understand what it is that you're reading from the start. To this end, when I work with top performers who are aiming to break 170, 175, I encourage them, I test them, I drill them on their ability to transform one logical reasoning question type into another based on that method of reasoning in the stimulus. Can you take a given argument and reframe it from strengthen to weaken to flaw to parallel to resolve the paradox? Can you transform it and demonstrate a mastery of the material? Do you truly understand correlation, causation, confusion of necessary and sufficient conditions? Do you understand how to evaluate numbers versus percentages and why these methods of reasoning are so tricky in particular? These are all elements of the Socratic review method, where I test students on their ability to not just understand the question stem type, but also understand the argument or the passage, the answer choices, specifically what makes a wrong answer choice tempting and what ultimately makes it wrong, what makes the right answer choices unappealing, and what ultimately makes them correct. Because you have traps of encouragement towards the wrong answer and traps of discouragement away from the right answer. And until you know which tricks and traps you personally are uniquely prone to falling for, you can't help but end up making the same mistake again. And this is why when I'm working with a student, I hold their feet to the fire, I put them on the spot and encourage them to extract the key takeaways, because the LSAT repeats itself again and again and again. There are certain methods of reasoning that show up every single exam. There are some that show up every other exam, and some that show up only once every 5 or 10 exams. And so if you're getting level 4 and level 5 questions wrong, and that's all you're getting wrong, it may be that you need to expose yourself to these infrequent methods of reasoning and put in the time to understand them inside out, so that even if against the odds it were to show up again on your official LSAT test, you would be in a good position to handle it. And this is regardless of the question stem type. If you're just getting wrong 2 or 3 logical reasoning questions per section, I would be very surprised if they're all of the same question type, and the analytics that you're seeing on the big prep company platforms aren't going to reveal this to you because they haven't tagged everything by method of reasoning. And it may be, surprise, surprise, that you are missing some fundamental conceptual gap on something simple like conditional indicator words for necessary and sufficient conditions, or more likely those annoying words like unless, except, until, and without. Maybe that you have difficulty parsing an argument when it does not contain evidence and conclusion indicators. So figuring out the gaps in your understanding, getting those key insights from your LSAT review process will carry you far. And if you don't know what you don't know, you may be in trouble. But luckily, you've hopefully got at least a couple weeks, if not a couple months, till your LSAT test date. And I hope there is plenty of time for you to figure this out. Of course, the LSAT is administered roughly 8 times a year, and you have plenty of test dates coming up later this calendar year alone. Of course, you've got the June test being the last one with the logic game section. Then you've got the August test, which is the first exam with no more logic games and instead having 2 logical reasoning sections. But you could take the LSAT any of June, August, September, October, November, and still apply to law school perfectly early this cycle. So don't rush it if you feel that you need the time to reach your fullest potential. And of course, I'm here for you. Just reach out, shoot me a DM or an email. I'm happy to help.